Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Wrap by Wrap. I'm Scott with Country Roads Fly Company, coming at you from wild, wonderful West Virginia. In today's video, we're going to talk about bundled fiber tails. Bundled fiber tails are pretty common on mayfly patterns as well as some emerger patterns. And there's many different kinds of materials that you can use for a bundled fiber tail. Rooster, cape, spade hackle fibers are one option. There's many synthetic options as well. So this should be a pretty quick video. I'll cover preparing the bundled fiber material, sizing the tail, and then we'll go over actually mounting the bundled fiber tail to the hook shank. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, I'm going to start by mounting my tying thread to the hook shank and take it back to the tailing point, which in this case is going to be just at the start of the hook bend. As I mentioned, there are several options as far as bundled fiber tail material goes. A lot of people like to use the spade hackle fibers from a rooster cape. There's some synthetic options. What I'm going to use in this example is a Coq de Leon feather, CDL. CDL has the advantages of providing some very stiff hackle fibers, as you can see here. So the way I'm going to handle these, I'm going to preen them back, this clump. I'm interested in, 8 to 10 fibers. Preen some back so that the tips are pretty well aligned. And what I'm going to do in my offhand, in my case my left hand, I'm going to grab the tips to keep them aligned. Then with my right hand, I'm going to grab the feather stem and just rip away. Now I've got this clump of fibers, the ends of which should be even, and they are. So what I want to do now is size the tail length, the fiber length to the hook, and which I want to be just about the length of the hook shank in this case. You can see I'm a little bit short, so I'm just going to grab the tips and pull them away a little bit from my other hand. And I'm still just a tad bit short. There we go. That's a good tail length. So now I'm going to transfer this clump to my offhand. And I'm going to place them on top of the hook shank, just at the tailing point where the final wrap of thread is. Using a pinch wrap, I'm going to make my first wrap around the hook shank, securing the tailing fibers to the top of the hook shank. And I'm going to take one more. Then I'm going to take a look. So looking at the length of the tail at this point after just a couple of wraps to secure the tail to the hook shank, it looks pretty good. I want the length of the tail to be equal to that of the hook shank, and we're pretty close here. I might shorten it up just a little bit. So to shorten up your tail, you want to pull on the butt ends of the tail. So just very gently, by pulling on them a little bit, you can shorten the tail. If you need to go the other way, you might get away with pulling it in this direction without pulling your thread, depending on how tight your thread wraps are. But usually, in my experience, if your tail is too short, it's better to just unwind your wraps and start over. So this one looks like it's in pretty good shape. So I'm going to continue securing this with wraps forward towards the eye. And to make sure that the tailing fibers stay on top of the hook shank, I'm going to position my finger kind of as a backstop and just moving it out of the way of the thread and then moving it back to secure those tailing fibers. And this one's staying put pretty well. So I'm just going to make a couple more. Now, depending on the pattern you're tying and how bulky you want your underbody, you may want to continue wrapping towards the eye to build up some bulk. Or if you want a slim underbody, you can go ahead, lift up the butts and clip off the butts at this point. So there we have it. We've got a pretty nice looking bundled fiber tail mounted to the top of our hook shank here. You'll note that the tailing fibers extend straight out from the hook shank. One common mistake is to start your tailing point too far towards the bend of the hook. So if that happens, your thread wrap, your first thread wrap, will force the tailing fibers downward like this. This one looks pretty good. It's also very functional. So these CDL fibers, these nice stiff fibers, will provide the support that a dry fly needs to float on the surface of the water. So I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for joining us today on Wrap by Wrap. Happy tying, and we'll see you next time.